welcome back to another colorful Keto with Dory. So it's Monday. Mondays are MUK'd, and we're getting together with Spirit Warrior Wende. And you know what? We're going to talk about some of the more in-depth things that we go through in our weight loss journey. And I'm going to say, you know what? I think today we're going to talk about me a little bit. And as much as people want to be like me, maybe you don't after you hear some of my story. I don't know. We'll see. Hello, darling. Happy Monday. Wah.
And how are you?
Oh, I'm awesome. I totally kicked Monday's butt. Just saying. Like, I'm just putting it out there and I'm saying I kicked Monday's butt.
Awesome.
How was your day?
Productive.
Oh, good. I'm so glad.
We got a lot done today.
I'm so glad.
Nothing work related, but, life related. So, because apparently this summer for me is all about the life thing.
Right? Why don't you tell everybody that for a minute while I'm making my coffee?
Over the last few weeks, you guys know I've been going through a lot of personal transformation, remembering a lot of things, remembering things I didn't know happened, all those kinds of things. That really can shake up your world. Getting through the other side of that, and now as an adult, I have a son moving back home, so I'm giving up my space. My husband's giving up space, and we're going to be helping him kind of heal. He's kind of hit a kind of a rough spot, and so he's going to come back home for a bit and learn some things that he didn't learn when he should have learned them because he didn't want to learn them then. So
yeah, none of us do that though, right? Like we probably don't do that.
No, none of us as teenagers ever do that.
I knew everything. I'm just going to put it out there and be like, I already knew everything, just saying.
Yeah, well, so did my boy. And 4 years later, he's come to realize that he doesn't know as much as he thought he did. And he just needs a break. He just needs a breather. So he's going to come home for a little bit. But that means I am now cleaning and purging my house, and actually the purging is good because I can take advantage of that. My husband's getting a stent for kidney stones on Wednesday afternoon, so that's not going to be fun. Next weekend is a long weekend here in Canada. My best friend's getting married, and in the midst of that, my son's moving home, so I'm like, there's no life happening here at all, none.
What is it they say, no rest for the wonderful? I think I heard it wicked.
Right, that's right.
I think they said wicked, but I'm going to say wonderful. There's no rest for the wonderful.
Yeah.
There's no rest.
I've been really, really wicked because the next 2 weeks for me are... they're busy. They're really busy.
Slam jam? we could call it that. So we didn't really talk about what we were going to talk about today, but we didn't really get everywhere that we were going last week. So I thought, you know what, maybe we can talk a little bit about that this week. And we started talking a little bit about my surgery and how I kind of got about to that decision. So I thought, let's maybe do that a little today, unless we have something else really important to discuss.
No, your journey has been really multifaceted, so it's good to bring up all the facets to make it all make sense to everybody. So, definitely talk about how you got to the surgery.
Okay. Well, let's start with we'll start with today with the surgery itself. Because I know I've told you before that a lot of people had a lot of opinions about me having surgery. But then there was a second layer, because I went to Mexico to have that surgery. So there was an extra layer of people who feel some way about going to Mexico to have things done. And I understand the concern, because, sometimes it can be shady in Mexico. But I want to start there, because I will say that it makes me sad, because the level of care that I received there was so far and above what we have available to us in Canada that it will blow your mind, like absolutely blow your mind. So I want to start with the first time I noticed that I was being treated differently by a doctor. So we left Calgary, we got on our plane, and originally we had booked our surgery through a consultant. So what they do is they hook you up with the hospital where you're going to, and ideally they're supposed to help you make all your connections and all that stuff. Unfortunately, the lady we were working with kind of was going through some personal stuff and stopped doing it shortly after that. But we got in the air, we missed our connecting plane, and I contacted her because we didn't have anyone else to contact, and we sort of left it in her hands, and she dropped the ball. She didn't let anybody know we were delayed, nothing. Like, absolutely no information left from us to there to reach the hospital. Nobody knew anything. Just we were supposed to be at the airport, and we never arrived. We just never got there. So we arrived at the airport, we're hours and hours late, and I thought, well, what do we even do? I don't know what to do. So we took a cab to a Best Western, because we were staying at all Best Westerns closest to the border. Because I thought, well, what else do you do? It's, you know, it's 12 o'clock at night, you have no way of getting a hold of anybody, we'll just go to a hotel. So we get the cab, we go to the closest Best Western, and we go to the open air counter to book a room. And the guy's all, we don't have any rooms. We're fully booked. We don't have any rooms. And I said, well, you know what? I'm going to tell you what. I'm Canadian, and it's not that cold. So you could find me a room, or I'll just pull up like a piece of lawn over there and have me a nap, because it's the middle of the night and it's not that cold out. And he was like, you know what? Let me double check and see if we can't find you a room. So they find us one room where we have to share a bed, and who cares? Who cares if we share a bed? So he takes my girlfriend's card to book the room, and he says, oh, a doctor left a message here for you. A doctor left a message for me here? Okay, could you call him back? So at 12:30 at night, he calls the clinic, and sure enough, it's Dr. Sereno, and he has left a message. And I was like, dude, it is the middle of the night. How did you even know where we would be? And he said, well, I didn't know for sure where you would be, but I left messages at the 6 closest area hotels in hopes that that's where you would end up. Okay, so first of all, who does that? Like, this is a doctor who has very valuable time, and in the middle of the night, he left messages at 6 different hotels in hopes we would end up there. So in the morning, he got a hold of us, we did everything we had to do, we went and had the testing done, and it was time for surgery. Now, the second time I realized I was dealing with something different was this. Now, when my mom had her heart attack in Canada, we did not speak to her cardiologist. Not for 5 seconds, not for 2 minutes. She was in and out of the hospital, and we talked to doctors, but never a cardiologist. When I went to have my surgery, they have a cardiologist come and check you out to make sure that you're okay for surgery. They run all the tests. They make sure that you're good. But I'll tell you, this man was amazing. My girlfriend and I kept migrating to the next room over so we could be together. And he did our medical intake together. He was like, you know what, let's just hang out, let's have fun. He sat on the end of the bed and he laughed and joked with us for well over an hour. And he was like, oh, you ladies are so beautiful. You don't need this surgery. Why are you doing this? And I was like, because I 290 pounds, dude. 290 pounds. And I was like, you know what? And then I'll be a triple threat. I'll be awesome, fantastic, and thin. You know, one day. Just you wait. I'll be the dancing queen. But right away then, I realized it was different than what you get in Canada. Because I've never been treated like that by a doctor, and I've never had a cardiologist have a real, legitimate conversation with me. So we go into surgery day, and my girlfriend goes for surgery first. Now, she had a lot of issues, and we actually had the surgery because of her. She had a really bad hernia that they wouldn't repair until after she had surgery. But on top of the hernia in her stomach, she also had a really bad hernia in her throat. So shortly after they started surgery, Dr. Sereno came to me and he said, so two things. One, Crystal has a really bad hernia in her throat, and because we put all the tubes down that way, we have to repair that before we can go and do the surgery, and I just want you to be aware. Now, normally we charge $1,500 to repair a herniated throat hernia, but you know what? This is not a car shop. You know, you don't get under and lift up the hood and say this is going to cost you this much more. I'm not going to charge her for it, but I just want you to know that I'm doing this for her. Now, in addition to that, he explained to me that although we had paid for gastric sleeve, which with a gastric sleeve, they just remove 80% of your stomach. So when they take it away, it's gone. Too bad for you. If you have complications, there's nothing you can do. It's just gone. So he explained to me that what he wanted to do for her instead is called a sleeve placation. So instead of removing the stomach, he wanted to stitch it. And he said it's a better surgery for her, it's healthier for her, and it's reversible if down the road there are issues. And again, I charge $1,500 more for that surgery, but I'm going to do it because it's the better health choice for her. So she got her hernia repaired and an extra $1,500 in surgery. He also gave me the better surgery and the other girl who traveled with us the better surgery. So between the three of us, we ended up with $4,500 in free surgery because he really genuinely cared about our health more than making a dollar. So for me, that was life-changing because I don't see doctors like that where I'm from. And if you're in the States or if you're in Canada, it's just not like that. You know, maybe if you live in the world somewhere, it's not. So it comes my turn for surgery. I have my surgery. He, you know, gets me all checked out, sets me down for the night, and he leaves for the evening, like all doctors will. They have 24-hour care at the hospital to keep an eye on you. And somewhere in the night, I started to throw up. And bad throw up. But I didn't really know how to react because I'd never had surgery before. So I didn't even really think it was that big of a deal. You know, I just was throwing up. Whatever, I've thrown up before. And in the morning, as I was mid throwing up, I've never seen a doctor run before, but I hear this barreling down the hall. My doctor bursts in my room and says, "Oh dear God, Dory, are you okay?" And I just start to laugh because I'm like, "Oh, that's nothing. I was throwing up way worse than that last night. Like, this is nothing, dude." And he was like, "Oh no, we're switching your medication." I reacted bad, and there was no way to know that I would because I'd never had surgery of any kind before in my life. But because of that, I threw up for 4 days straight then. And I mean, like, 4 days and nights. They physically could not make me stop throwing up for 4 days. And it was really, really bad. Like, it was bad. There was a point when I thought I might die. And there was a moment when I wished I would just die. Like, after 4 days, you're like, oh dear God, if I could just die, that would be so much easier. But then, day 5, something happened. It was like a light switch. Instantly, I felt better than I ever had. And it was a feeling I can't describe, because it was a feeling I've never had before. Like, I've never actually, up until that point in my life, ever felt healthy. Like, I literally woke up day 5, and I felt like the world was brand new, and I was excited about everything, and I was like a brand new girl on day 5. Like,
kind of sounds like how you feel after you get through keto flu.
It does. Honestly, it's exactly the same feeling. It's like an awakening of your senses. It's like before that, I lived in a cloud. Like, I never really felt anything, you know, and all of a sudden I had this great sense of smell. I think I had more of a sense of humor, but only based on the fact that all of a sudden everything was so exciting and new, and it is very much like that keto energy that you get when you're like, oh my God, the world is awesome. Have you seen this peanut? Like, little things impressed me. Silly things impressed me, and it changed right away for me. But when I came home I had this brand new attitude. Like, and I don't know, I think possibly it came from thinking I might die. And the trauma of going through that, like just that really, really suffering through that and worrying for my own safety. That when I came home, I decided, you know what? New me. And I don't take anybody's garbage anymore. That's it. I'm done. Like, I am done being doormat Dory for the world. And my mother always said to me, you know, Dory, people can't walk all over you if you don't lay down. Good advice, right?
Absolutely.
So
Dory, I want to talk a little bit about two things. I want to talk a little bit about people's attitudes before your surgery. I want to talk about their attitudes in terms of having the surgery, and I also want you to talk about their attitudes in terms of you going to Mexico, because you are one of those people who people just felt like they could just say whatever the heck they wanted to you, and it would be okay.
Oh, yes.
And people need to hear that they're not alone in that, Dory, because what you suffered was basically abuse from everybody.
Pretty much.
And there are a lot of people who are like you who get told all kinds of things, right? So can we talk a little bit about some of those misconceptions that people had?
Oh, please, yes. The first thing I would say is it starts with a C of, you know, that's the easy way, right? Like, why can't you just do it the way that everybody else does it? You know, why do you deserve to take the easy way? And I think people actually literally said those exact words to me. Why do you deserve to do it the easy way when other people have to work really hard to be healthy? And at the time I was like, okay, but I already struggled with my weight for 20 years. So how does that qualify as taking the easy way out? Because I already tried everything under the sun for 20 years. So there were, I'm going to say, probably only about 3 supportive people in my whole life, maybe, who were like, you know what, that's good for you. That's a great decision for you. You do that. And everyone else around me was really negative. And they were negative about the surgery, but worse so about Mexico. At the time, I worked at a trucking company. And one of the girls from work, she was daughter to my boss. And she was all, you know, Dory, when you go to Mexico for surgery, you wake up in a bathtub without your organs. Just saying, like, maybe you shouldn't. And I was like, you know what, dude, it'll be fine. Like, it'll be fine. It's all good. And she actually had her mother text me while I was there, and the text I got said, oh, Steph wanted me to message you and ask you if you still have your kidneys. I was like, yep, I got my kidneys, and I bought me a wicked cool purse too, just saying, shopping here's cheap, cheap. But when I got back to work, it didn't really get any better. It didn't. Like, my girlfriend and I both worked at the same place. So at least we had each other to rely on because we went through it together. You know, when we couldn't eat, we were not eating together. When we could eat and we could each only eat half of an egg, we could share that half of an egg together. But then something else happened. I would say that the people that we worked with even started to find humor in that. Like, for example, the boys would come out of the lunchroom and they'd be like, oh, dude, I don't think I can finish this grape. Jim, can you finish this grape for me? Because we always shared our food. So that was the joke, right? Like, you know, we couldn't eat. So then when food came, because we worked in trucking and it always did, like every Friday people showed up with, you know, the giant Costco pies and donuts and muffins and you name it, they brought it. Like Opa would come, we would get ribs. They were so obsessed with food. They used to have an ice cream delivery truck stop at our work at lunchtime. Want to know who had to phone around and find out which ice cream delivery truck would stop at our work? The Nut Man came once a month. So we got the Nut Man. We had the ice cream guy came. they had this really awesome thing at this office where they would go to Costco and they would buy like the big giant bags of chips and popcorn and gummy bears and chocolates. And every Friday, they would put them out in the office and everyone could come and load up on their junk, as well as the candy store that was in the marketing lady's office. And all day, every day, you could just go in and visit with her and have some candies and some junk food. So it was a really difficult place to work when you can't eat. Because I want to go there for a minute and say, if you're contemplating surgery, if you had surgery, I didn't think I would have to go without eating near as long as I did. Like, altogether, I think it ended up being 2.5 months without food. Like, any food. And I was like,
this is where people go, oh yeah, but you took the easy way out. Oh, I'm sorry, 2.5 months without food and surgery? Are you kidding me?
Well, and I almost died.
Said, you know, because surgery is easy. Yeah, no. Yeah. I mean, you went without food, like no food, like no food. Just liquid diet,
protein shakes,
surgery.
Yeah,
and that's the easy way out.
Well,
and then adjusting to this new stomach size, right?
Oh, the new stomach. I have to talk about that a little bit because your new stomach is a world unto itself. So when my brand new baby stomach healed, and I call it that because my stomach, it's literally the size of a sleeve. So my stomach is that big. Like, that's how big it is. If you think about the size of a spring roll, that's how big my stomach is. So when I was able to eat food, the first thing I encountered is that being hungry is beyond painful. Like, I don't know how to describe the pain other than to say it would be like, it's kind of like somebody taking your stomach and twisting it and stabbing it with hot knives at the same time. And I never really had any warning that I was going to be hungry. Like, I would just be like, oh my God, I'm hungry. And the pain would hit me in waves. And I would say to my ex, I have to eat. I have to eat something. And he'd be like, oh, I'll cook you something. No, you don't understand. I don't have a half an hour to wait for you to cook me something. I have to put something in my body immediately right now. Like, it has to be right now. If I was at the grocery store and hunger came on, I can't do I'll get in the car and I'll go grab some McDonald's or I'll wait till I get home. I had to eat something. So it was lots of times I would make bad choices, right? Because what's available? Chocolate bar, that was my favorite. That was my favorite. I'm on the go, I'm on the run, I'm starving, I need something in my face right now. Chocolate bar. Chocolate bar. And limiting what I ate worked for a long time. It worked because I was eating such a smaller amount. But when I had my surgery, it was always very clear to me it was only a tool. Like, nobody ever said to me, have surgery, wake up and be a Barbie doll. And it's a good thing they didn't, because man, stuff got weird. And I want to talk about that next. Because I lost weight so rapidly, I looked like a shrunken head lady. I did. Like, I lost all my weight on the top. I got more and more pear-shaped on the bottom. So then you're hit in the face with, okay, so I've lost 60 pounds and I hate my body more. How is that even possible? Because you're like, you know what, I'm down 60 pounds. You should be proud of yourself. But then you look horrible. And to be honest, people can't wait to rub that in. Because they love that if you're doing it the easy way, it's not that easy, right? You should have to suffer because everybody suffers to be thin and to be beautiful and to be healthy, right? We learned that our whole life, that you suffer for those things. And in their eyes, I didn't suffer enough to earn those things. And that was hurtful to me. Because they didn't really actually see what I did suffer to get there. Because I didn't end up being 290 pounds because people were good to me. People were mean. And people have always, my whole life, said kind of whatever they felt like saying to me. Because I don't know, I could handle it, or because because I'm fat and I shouldn't care, or, you know, just because they felt like saying it, and everybody has every right to say things out loud. Maybe? I don't know. But when I came home and I started putting my foot down and I stopped accepting those behaviors, a lot of people didn't really like me that much anymore.
Funny how it works when you say, oh, I'm sorry, I'm not your scapegoat anymore.
Right? You know, I'm not going to be the person who, you know, is there for you to call yelling and screaming for an hour in the morning because, you know what, you had a bad day, or your kids didn't listen, and, you know, your dog got in the garbage, you know, and your guy was being a jerk last night. And that's literally what I woke up to every day. Those were the kinds of friends I had. And that's what I surrounded myself with at that time, because they were all like me. We were all overweight, we were all miserable, we were all sick, and we were all in horrible relationships. Horrible relationships. And so we bred that misery, right? So when somebody steps out of that circle, that disrupts, right? Because we all shared that together. And she was my twinsies girlfriend. Like, when I met her, her daughter was 6 months old and my son was 4 months old. So we had babies together. We were single moms together. And we weighed exactly the same amount. At the time when we met, we both weighed 266 pounds. We had exactly the same hip, waist, and bust measurements. So for 13 years, she was my fat girlfriend. Oh, Nisha! Nisha says they still aren't getting where they are. That they are, they're standing by lanes of 3 Ubers and people are just screaming at each other. Oh, poor Nisha. Poor Dr. Ken. I feel for you, darling. I feel for you. So, I missed where I was. I totally lost where I was. Let's pick a new train of thought.
Yeah, I got derailed too. I was listening to you and then, oh, hi, Nisha. Oh, stuck in a, well, I know, why am I like, okay. Totally derailed. You were talking about how you weren't putting up with anybody's crap anymore, and how your girlfriends and you were the same. You were in the same miserable boat, horrible relationships, etc.
Yeah. So when I started to lose weight, not only did it make her uncomfortable, she really went out of her way. Like, it wasn't like, okay, so not being proud of me would have been bad enough. Like, oh, you're doing really good, Dory, I'm totally proud of you. I didn't get that. And that even would have been bad enough. But what I got instead was this. I don't know why you bothered. You're not going to keep that weight off anyways. It's not like you're ever going to change how you're going to eat. So really, you're just going to get fat again anyways. You just wasted your time. I don't know why you even bothered. And also, by the way, did you know you're going to look old and you're going to have gross, saggy skin? You know what? I'd rather be fat than look old and have gross, saggy skin any day of the week.
And how did you respond to that, Dory?
We kind of stopped being friends. I won't lie. I let it drag on longer than I should have, because I will take my responsibility in it, and I will say I enabled her in our friendship to be less than accountable, I guess, is the best way I could say that. We were always 70-30 friends. Like, to the friendship, she brought 30% of the effort and I brought 70, and I was always okay with that. Like, I knew that's how it was. I knew that's what kind of friend she was. So when I got to the point where I wasn't willing to accept a 70-30 friendship anymore, it got really, really ugly. Like, for a while, she ignored me. And we have a lot of mutual friends. So, you know, that kind of really passive-aggressive, I hope you know I'm ignoring you. By the way, did our mutual friends point out to you that I'm ignoring you? So she did that for a little while. And then she sent her fiance over to my house to say that she wanted to have a conversation with me. And I thought, okay, you know what, maybe enough time has passed. Maybe it's time to, you know, sit down and hash this out and talk about it. So I went to her house, and the conversation was 2 hours of her yelling and screaming at me about what a shitty person I am, how selfish I am, how, I'm risking my life, and, I don't care about anybody else, and I'm vain and I'm shallow, and I really only care about being thin. It's not about being healthy, and all this sea of things that I was doing wrong. And I just sat there and I listened to her, and I just sat there while she yelled at me and told me what a shitty human being I was, at the end of which her conclusion was, I no longer want to be your friend. And I said, okay, I can accept that. I grabbed my purse, what pieces of dignity I had left, and I walked out the door. what little shredded pieces of dignity that I had left, and I left. And I thought, you know what, if you don't want to be my friend, I'm not about to beg for your friendship. And I will say that 7 years later, I realized that's ideally exactly what I was supposed to do. Because again, through said mutual friends, over the years, she's never stopped complaining that I had the nerve to not beg her for her friendship. How dare I not beg her for her friendship? Because after 2 hours of yelling and screaming at me about what a shitty human being I am, I was supposed to be like, oh, you're right. You're so right. Everything you said is right. I am the worst human being on the planet. You're right. I beg you to forgive me. What can I do? What can I do to have you forgive me for making a choice about my own body for my own health? Please tell me. Cheers. Cheers.
Cheers.
How can I make this right for you? Please tell me. And there wasn't anything to say. There wasn't anything to say. I listened to what she said and I walked away from it because there's no value in what she was saying to me. She just was unhappy that I was no longer going to be unhappy. And I will tell you that a couple years later, when I ran into her fiance, he actually did go back to her and tell her, and I know it was something said to make her feel better because she's still fat and I'm not. He said this to her, oh, don't feel bad. I saw Dory. She has lost weight, but boy, does she look old. And I thought, you son of a bitch. 7 years has passed since we've stopped being friends, by the way. Am I the only person on the planet who's not supposed to look older? I am 43 years old. You could cut me a little slack. I'm not 22, dude. And I lost 145 pounds.
No kidding. Yay, you.
Yay, me.
That's amazing.
But at the end of that, when people would say things like, oh, you're looking really great. Look at you losing all that weight. But you didn't really do it, though, right? You had surgery. You took the easy way. So I can't really give you any credit for that. But good on you. I can't actually give you any credit. But, you look good. That's as much credit as I would get. Only 2, but I've had 2 men tell me they thought I looked better fat because I had bigger boobs. But people don't have any issue saying that. Like, oh, I thought you looked better fat. I'm really glad you liked me better at 290 pounds. You know what I don't miss? I don't miss not being able to stand on my own feet in the morning, thank you. I don't miss having to buy a size 26 dress. I don't miss, growing out of 3X panties. I don't miss, people looking at me in restaurants if you're eating a salad and a Diet Coke like you don't have any right to eat because don't you know you're fat? Like, fat people shouldn't eat, And here's an irony because a lot of people could say, oh, well, that's just you. Like, nobody's actually thinking those things. Nobody's really judging you that way. Like, that's just all in your head. You just think people are thinking that. But I will say, and again, only because I think people around me feel like they can say whatever they want, I have literally overheard people say that. Like those exact words. One time when I think I was probably about 20 years old, I was standing in line at a gas station and I was buying myself a chocolate bar and a Diet Pepsi. And the guy behind me, I shit you not, Wendy, he leans over my shoulder and he goes, "Do you really think that Diet Pop is going to help you any with the chocolate bar you're buying?" Pardon, stranger, I don't know, who thinks he has any business talking to me whatsoever. The Diet Pop is because I like Diet Pop, not because I'm dieting. And no, I don't think a chocolate bar and a Diet Pop is going to help me lose weight. But thank you for pointing out that I'm fat because it's your business. And I walked away because what else do you say? Like, what else? Why is that your business? Why do you think you can? And you know what? I have a girlfriend whose daughter is 9. Now, she's only 9 years old. She looks about 13 because of her size. She has thyroid issues. She's tall. She is a very large girl. Now, my girlfriend was standing in line at the grocery store with her 9-year-old daughter. And the guy behind her leaned over and said to her daughter, "You don't really need those potato chips, do you?" And my girlfriend looked at him and said, "You don't really need to fat shame a child, do you? Do you? Is it okay to walk up to someone else's 9-year-old child and tell them they're too fat for chips?" Because that's what he was saying. That's exactly what he was saying. And that poor little girl is not overweight because she gorges herself. She has hormonal issues. Her mother has hormonal issues. You know, she's not going to be a petite girl. Her mother is 300 pounds. So she's not going to be a small girl. But what gives a stranger a right to walk up to a child and fat shame a child in public? Like, do we actually live in that kind of a world where people can just say and do whatever they want and it's totally okay? Because I know it happened to me since I was a kid. Even in your own family. How old were you the first time you ran by somebody in a bathing suit and they said, "Oh, look, someone's getting a little chunky. Oh, look at you, little chubbaroo. Oh, look, pinch your chuggy cheeks. Look at you. You know, you're getting a little fat though, hey?" I was like 8, 9, 10 maybe.
Yeah, my ex-mother-in-law said something like that to my oldest daughter. Now, I mean, little girls, before they go through puberty, they do put on extra weight. They get chubby. Get a little pudgy. It's normal in the couple of years prior to hitting puberty for little girls to put on extra weight. And this was the phase my daughter was in. And her grandmother looked at her when her aunt looked at her and said, "Oh, you look so beautiful." And her grandmother looked at her, "Yeah, well, you know, you got a couple of rolls there." And you know what? My 9-year-old daughter at that point decided that her grandmother wasn't worth her time.
And rightly so. And rightly so. Because it doesn't matter who it is in your family. You know what? A lot of times, those people are more likely to say horrible things to you than strangers are, because they're the people who love you, and really you should be able to take constructive criticism from them, like, you know, constructive as in, "Oh, by the way, you know, you're getting a little fat, eh?"
My mother would watch me all the time, and as a teenager, I would get did you put 5 pounds on? Like, because you could never see 5 pounds on anybody, but this is what I would get is, did you put 5 pounds on? Like, so I was always super conscious about that. When I saw my grandmother right up until she died, it was, you know, "Wendy Lynn, are you losing weight?" You know, there was always this weight focus in my house. You know, and I was always hearing those kinds of things, you know. "Did you put on 5 pounds? Wendy Lynn, are you losing weight?" "Yes, Grammy, I'm losing weight." Because you know what? That's all she wants to hear. So I just told her she wanted to.
Yes, I've lost weight and I have a new boyfriend, Grammy. We're probably getting married.
That would be, so when are you going to marry him? Because apparently getting married means financial stability in my grandmother's eyes.
Well, we're probably getting married and I think he's going to be a doctor, Grammy.
Yeah.
Right? What else do you say? Like, you know, I don't know. My grandma never really got it either. We were never really close like that. So, you know, my mom was very supportive. To be honest with you, my mom paid for me to have my surgery done. She was always my biggest cheerleader. Always, always, always.
So, excuse me, when you think about your journey and you think about how far you've come, what would be your biggest takeaway that you would give to anybody who's looking at going on this journey?
I would say that honestly, my first question that people ask me all of the time is, do I regret my surgery? If I knew then what I know now, would I go back and not have? And you know what? I wouldn't personally. I've heard some people say, you know what? If I'd known, I wouldn't have had. But I know for myself, at the point I barely heard about ketogenic diet a year ago. And we're now talking about 7 years ago. 7 years ago, I never would have heard about a ketogenic diet to say, oh man, I wish I would have, you know, started keto instead of having surgery, because it wouldn't have been an option. It's kind of silly to even imagine it, because it just wouldn't have been feasible. And I know that I never would have accepted at that point that I could change my diet, that would make a difference, that it ever would have. So I would say, you know what, if you went through surgery, you're going to find out what I found out. Limiting how much you eat only helps you for a certain amount of time, and you still have to learn how to eat healthy. You have to learn about food. I had to learn about food. I had to learn that, guess what comes out of a cardboard box and a can might not be my best choice. You know, maybe I don't want to eat McDonald's every day. Maybe I don't want to be eating, you know, low fat products. Maybe I don't want to be eating, you know, aspartame and diet this and diet that. There are a lot of things that I had to learn that you're going to have to learn too. But I'm going to say this, if I could learn it and I knew less than nothing, you can learn it too. And I figured it out on my own, and you guys don't have to figure it on your own, because you've got us. You know, you can call on us, you can ask us questions, you can comment in group, and you have the support that we didn't have. Because you know what? I had to figure it out by myself, for myself, because there wasn't anybody to help. But you guys have the benefit of having people to help. So my takeaway is reach out. Reach out, because you know what? There are more people like us. There are. Not everyone in your life has a negative feeling about the surgery you had. And you know what? Be honest about it in keto groups. And I understand why you don't want to. Because guys, I had that feeling too. Like, as soon as I realized I was going to legitimately dedicate my life to the ketogenic diet, my first thought was, oh dear God, hold your breath, Dory. Do you mention you've had surgery? Because you can't hide it. Like, it's not like it's something you can hide forever that will come out. People will know that about you. But I was very leery to say it, partly because of the negative response I got in my personal life, and partly because I know that in general, it's not just the people around me, in general, people think that surgery is the easy way. They just do. And they think, not only did I take the easy way, but then they say this, well, but you didn't really lose the weight. You had surgery. So how can you tell me about eating healthy or being healthy because you didn't actually lose weight?
So where did it go?
Well, I don't know, because I didn't lose it. I don't know. I apparently had no active role in it whatsoever. Like, I had to learn everything again. It's like, almost like being crippled and having to learn to walk again. I literally had to learn to eat again from baby food almost. Like, you go from blended shakes to the first thing I got to eat was a scrambled egg. Dude, you know how excited I was to eat that egg? And all I could eat for my first serving was half of one scrambled egg. Now, coming from somebody who would go to a buffet and dish me up 6 or 7 plates so I felt like I got my $14 worth, to all of a sudden be like, okay, so you eat this much, deal with it. Deal with it. And I think the next time we talk about it, I want to talk about how that created even more weird eating disorders for me. Because I already had a lot of weird eating disorders. You don't get to be 290 pounds without having weird eating disorders, like a collection of them. But all of a sudden, going from being able to eat as much as I wanted and gorge myself like a crazy lady to being limited to what you would feed a toddler, that in itself was a shock in the system. You know, to learn the fact that, guess what, I don't get to have 12 pierogies at dinner. I get to have 2, and I can eat 1 now, and I can eat 1.5 an hour. It was a really huge adjustment for me, and it started new food hoarding behaviors.
So what do you have going on for the rest of the week, Dory?
Do you know what? I think it's a fairly lax week at my house. It's vacation week. Al is home from work. Diana is off from program. So I think we're doing a lot of family time, movie marathons, gardening outside in the yard, and we might even try to sneak away for a day or 2 of camping somewhere in the week or the weekend. But other than my Wednesday schedule, I don't have anything additionally booked. We just might do a couple fun kid recipes with Diana, because we've only got a couple more weeks with her, and man, does she love making the videos, and I can't say no to that little girl. I just can't say no.
There's a lovely comment here for you. Wow, kudos to you for sharing. Thanks very much for your transparency.
Oh, you're welcome. It is, I can't lie. I've been putting off doing this share for a while because I don't know if I'll cry and fall apart.
Well, and the thing is we did it last week, and then she spent the rest of the week falling apart. So
that is actually kind of what happened.
But you do really well. You're not falling apart on camera, and you fall apart behind the scenes. And then we talk about that, and
I
processing.
Do. Well, and last week doing the live wasn't as hard because I don't know. I just go into a mode where I don't even realize what I'm saying. We're just talking. It's flowing. It's going, and at the end, I go, oh. I don't even half remember what we talked about. But when I rewatched it, man, that's when I cried. That's when I cried, and I was like, oh my God! Why did I spend a lifetime of letting people talk to me like that? I don't know. So I'm going to say this. If you have spent a lifetime allowing people to walk all over you and talk to you however they want to, you don't have to, and today can be the day that you say, you know what, I'm done. I'm done being your doormat, and I'm done accepting any way you choose to talk to me. And this is how it looks like. When somebody actually physically does it to you, it looks like this. I'm sorry, you don't get to talk to me like that. You made a used to, but I don't accept it anymore. And you walk away. Because they might argue, but really, at the end of the day, all you can say is, you do not get to talk to me like that. I will not accept it. And you walk away. And if they still try to talk to you like that, then guess what? You walk away from them. Because you don't have to accept it. People don't get to talk to you however they want, and it's not their birthright to treat you like garbage.
And it's not your birthright to take it because you're not a toilet.
You're not a toilet. Don't take nobody's shit. That's right. That's the takeaway. You ain't a toilet. Don't take nobody's shit.
That's right. And you know what? Just for the record, guys, that whole, you can't talk to me like that. I don't accept that. It works.
It does.
Because my husband and I, when we first got together, he would say things to me, and I'd look at him and say, I'm sorry. You have no right to speak to me like that. And for the first time in my life, I stood up. Do you know that man respects me because I don't allow him any latitude in terms of his treatment of me. And, I shouldn't say I don't allow him any latitude. That makes me sound like a control freak. That's not it. But when it comes down to it, like today, I'll give you a great example. So today, he wanted me to go to Markham and drop off. Markham is about 45 minutes from me. He wanted me to drop off a piece of my car that needs to be fixed, but I need to make this drive. And he's like, so you're going to Markham today? And I went,
No, I'm not.
I'm not going to Markham today. Well, you need to get that fixed. I'm like, and I wasn't planning on going to Markham today. You're not going to tell me how I'm going to plan my day. You don't know what I have going
my day
on.
Planned.
And I said, we've been having this argument for 5 years. You cannot plan my life for me.
Yes.
And then I call the garage, and the garage calls me and say, oh, by the way, I just got the part out. So you're going to Markham today, right? I said, you're the second man that has decided to tell me what I'm doing with my day today. No, I'm not going to Markham, but I'll be by to pick up the part later.
Yeah.
You know, like, no. We all deserve to be treated the way that we expect to be treated. We expect to be treated with respect. We treat others with respect. You get what you give. And if you don't stand up and say, no, that's not respectful, they're gonna walk all over you. And Dory, every time she tells me her stories, my heart just hurts. Because I can't believe that people had the actual balls to say things like this to you.
Yeah, they do. And I just want people to know that if that's you and people say horrible things to you, you don't have to take it. You really, honestly don't have to take it from them. And if you're worried, like say, for example, it's in a relationship and you think, you know what, I allow him to treat me this way because when I don't accept it, maybe he'll leave. And you know what? Maybe he will. But chances are he will respect the fact that you have respect for yourself. And either way, okay, so I'm going to say this. One of two things are going to happen. Either he's going to show you the respect you deserve, or he's going to show himself out of your life. And either way, at the very least, you're not being disrespected anymore.
That's right. Absolutely. So on that happy note, my friend, it's time for me to go spend some time with my husband.
Yes, I have to cook dinner.
Yeah, I have to get back into pajamas.
Oh.
I put on makeup, I got dressed and everything. I was all lounging around the house and, you know, got myself all done up now. And now it's time to go back and snuggle with my husband because that's what we do.
Oh, I love it. I love it.
Oh, look at this. Farewell Fashion says, when I spoke up to my ex, he told me I was getting too brave.
Oh, yes, too brave. I love, my favorite things are you're too brave and you have too many feelings. Those are my man, you're getting awful ballsy these days, girl. You're getting pretty brave. Because you know what? Dude, you don't want me taking this on the open market. Trust me. I'm hot, just saying.
Alright, you guys. We love you. We hope this was helpful. Dory, thank you so much for sharing your journey with us. I know we'll be doing this again because there's still more stuff that needs to come up and out
I have
your
too
journey.
much.
Sorry?
I said I have too much.
Dory, you are.
I have too much.
You are too much.
Yes.
It's okay.
Love you, darling. Have a great night. Thank you for joining us. Like, follow, share if you like what you see. Have a great night, guys.
Bye, guys.